I've been trading with algos for, I want to say, roughly 5 years now, since 2018, that I run some kind of algos for my trading. And I've not talked about it a lot on YouTube, but I want to share with you today the behind the scenes of what I do with algos, how algos help me trade better, and how I run these kind of fully automated accounts with my algos in them that I don't have to manage more than 1 hour per month. We'll dive right in. Okay, so here we are behind the scenes of my algo, and it's something that I really love because it helps me to travel, do other things, sometimes be busy or even be sick, have a flu or something and not trade and still have money coming in from my trading, which is pretty cool. So I started with this whole thing by having kind of a script to alert me whenever I had a setup in the market. So back in 2018, I called it this thing where I would receive an alert on my phone when I had a setup coming up for my long-term universal strategy. Same one I have here right now, but this was only an alert back then. And I could like go in a coffee shop right away, take a trade if I was outside, or just kind of take the trade on my phone, or come back to my computer if I could and take the trade, as long as the setup looked good. Now I kind of transitioned this whole thing over the years to having these algos coded much better by someone who knows how to code and having them take trades automatically. So I've got two algos. One is for Secretaria, one is for BBR. These other are samples in MT4 get automatically, which I don't care about. But I run these algos here on MT4. It's a bit dated, of course, very old. The reason why it looks really old too is because I have a VPS, which is using an old version of Windows. But I'm able to run these algos anyway, and things work fine. So this runs 24/7 all the time. There's a quick shutdown on the weekend where I don't have to trade. The computer shuts down, reopens, and everything works as expected. And I'm fairly pleased with the stats I've got so far on this algo account. This is only a few months ago, so back in March, I took around 189 trades. Win rate is roughly around 50%, so very much half and half. But we got a much higher reward to risk. So you can see our average loss is 44 pips, our average win is 66 pip, and of course this is usually done on a 1% risk per trade. Now these accounts kind of go in a way where it's like a few months of really good returns and a few months of roughly break even, then a few months of really good returns, a few months of break even. It kind of goes like this. And even in the long-term back test my algo coder and I have done, it's always kind of like the same way. We always have a few months that are more slow, maybe the market trend less, then a few months that are more active, then a few months that are more slow. And it kind of goes like this. It's been the same thing when we go live as we have in the back test. It's the same kind of distribution. For the most part, the trades are happening all hours of the day because this is all automated. So we don't have to be there to place trades. We don't have to be there to close them either. We don't have to be doing anything, basically. We even got the support resistance areas coded where we don't have to look at any zones or stuff, which makes it a lot better. It's really enough. Now, I want to make it clear that this is not my whole trading. This is only part of it. I have a separate account only for algos that I run, and it's kind of giving me some good returns like I've shown you before. But it's not the only thing I trade. This is cool for when I'm not available, when I'm sick, when I'm traveling. This runs really well. Then I also have my manual trading on top of that, because as you can see, we only trade about 10 pairs here. Some of the same. We have some pairs with Bondsman Reversal, some pairs with Secretaria. All of them on the 1 hour charts. But for each pair, we've got to test the settings first, make sure the settings work fine for that pair. Because algos is a bit different than manual when you're more discretionary. You cannot really kind of tweak things and change things when you trade. So this is kind of why it's there. Now, the beauty of these algos is over the years, we've been able to add some parameters into it to kind of make it more reliable. And depending on the pair, we can tweak these things a little bit. If a pair is more choppy, we can add a filter for reducing choppiness and not take trades when the pair gets too choppy. And that helps us to have better returns overall. So you can see we've got a risk per trade here. Then we've got our settings for the Bollinger Band over here. This is going on 1 hour chart, 20 pair Bollinger Band, 2% standard deviation. How much we want to have a take profits. This is a 3-to-1 only on this pair. Only 3-to-1 works best for GPUSD. And then we have these other rules here where how we want to look at engulfing bars, engulfing candles, whether we want to use pin bars and rejections bar and all these things, which is giving us a lot of settings here. And here's where our filter comes in. We've got a trend filter. We also got a volatility filter that helps us to figure out when it's high volatility. Ideally, we want to trade this when it's high volatility and not too low, because when it's too low, price doesn't move anywhere. When it's higher, we have more room for profit in that case. So low volatility would be when it's like more choppy. High volatility will be when it's more extending and making moves like this one over here. That keeps us out of bad trades. Then we've got here our market noise filter. Again, similar, but this is when you have a lot of noise and a lot of choppiness in the market. So when it's like a lot of wicks and price going anywhere, that is high choppiness. Ideally, it works better if we trade when it's not too choppy and we have low market noise. And this is something that we've had to work a lot on. This is really hard to code, these support resistance areas. Over the years, we've been able to come up with things that help us to look at these zones in a better way and kind of identify zones automatically. I used to, every week before going my charts, draw the zone and kind of put this all together and kind of run it like this and change the zones every week. But it's very time consuming, and sometimes you don't know which zones work well for the algo, which zones don't work well. And you're constantly trying to play around and try to make things better. By having this coded in the algo, it makes things a lot easier. Now, we leave on this pair here, we don't have the zones enabled because we have other filters and we kind of focus more on trends. But in other pairs, we can have this enabled. And that makes a good difference to only place trades when the price is actually to reverse in the market based on these zones that are based on fractal numbers. And we can choose if we want to look at these zones on the same time frame or higher time frame. That makes a lot of a difference. Then we have a section for trade management, where we can decide how we manage our trades. Do we have a stop loss that we move to break even? Do we have fractals? We look at kind of having a trailing stop loss too. We can also set this up here. In the case where some days of the week were worse than others, we can always cut these days and tell them to not trade on Fridays or not trade on Mondays. We have the power to change this with the settings. And we can decide if we're, let's say, in a profit challenge, to close the trades by Friday. In profits that don't allow trading over the weekend, you can close the trades on Fridays and kind of be done with it, which is kind of cool. And then we've also got settings here for if you want to have alerts to Telegram when a trade is happening. I usually have this on my other pairs. This one is not enabled because I just have it here as an example for this video. But usually this would be enabled with my Telegram username, Telegram, and then my token and the chat ID over here. So I can tell you that definitely a lot of work went into this. I've begun algos coding myself. I couldn't just maintain that and like do everything I do myself with the coding on top of that. Plus, I'm not a really good coder anyway, and I don't want to spend my time doing it. I ended up hiring a coder, Alejandro, who works in my team. Alejandro is a really cool guy who's able to code these algos really well. He's been able to maintain these algos over time, also make them better over time. So really cool to have someone part of your team that can code. That makes a big difference. I'll leave an interview in the corner over here if you want to check it out with Alejandro, where we chatted about algos and how he's doing things and what things to look at and how to make good algos. So you can check it out directly there. I'll put the link below as well in the comment section. If you have any questions about algos and how I run things and how I do things, let me know below. I might do more videos on this in the future. I know algo is not a sexy topic here on YouTube. It's kind of boring for some people. But if you like it, give me a like and a comment below. That would be, of course, really appreciated. And I'll catch you back here in the next video pretty soon.